Hello, Croc Church, and happy Good Friday. I don't know if it's appropriate to wish you a happy Good Friday, but we know that Sunday's coming, and in the midst of everything that's going on, we know that God has got it in control. I just wanted to start off with Station 4, telling you a short story about myself. When I was in high school, I was walking down the hall. I was on my way to the lunch hour, and I was excited to get some food, and I saw $40 sitting on the floor, and I was so excited to see that $40, and I snatched it up before anyone could see it, and I didn't care about whose it was. I just stuck it in my pocket and went and hopped in the lunch line. I got myself a nice big lunch, and I went to pay. I was standing in the line, and my friend was actually standing next to me, and he looks in his pocket, and he realizes he doesn't have any money, and he's like, "Where did my $40 go?" And being the stand-up guy that I was, I said, "You know what? Let me cover your lunch." So I paid for his lunch with his own money. And so with Station 4, we're going to look at this word integrity. What does it mean to have integrity? Obviously, I didn't have integrity in that situation, but I've grown a lot, and I've learned a lot from Christ, from following him, and I'm thankful that I'm no longer the person that I once was. And I'm excited about the person that I'm becoming. But we see Judas Iscariot in Station 4, that he's going to give Jesus over to the authorities. He's going to betray his friend and his leader. And they give him 30 pieces of silver, which would have been about $20,000 if you were to count that sum out today. And so this is a really important story. We see Judas giving up his friend and selling him for the sum. And that's why we're focusing on this word integrity. And we know that Judas didn't have integrity before this. We see in John 12, just before Holy Week happens, and in fact, it may have been even in the midst of Holy Week. We're not entirely sure. But we see Judas skimming from the pot. In John 12, verse 6, it says, "Because he was a thief, Judas, as keeper of the money bag, used to help himself to what was put into it." And so we see that this isn't the first time that Judas is compromising what's good, what's right, for his personal gain. And he's taking money from his friends. So this isn't a guy who necessarily has a stand-up integrity. And so we see Judas betraying Jesus for the sum of money. So at his worst, Judas is this thief, right? And he's this guy who doesn't have integrity. And I heard when I was studying scripture in high school, one of the things that they said is that it was possible also that Judas was a zealot, which at this time would have meant somebody who was fighting against the Roman government, who was fighting battles, trying to get them out of Israel. And so at his best, it's possible that Judas may have betrayed Jesus as an act. He may have seen Jesus as the actual Messiah, and he thought the only way to get the Messiah to actually overthrow the Roman rule is for me to betray him, is for me to kind of, I need to add some fuel onto this fire. He's walking around preaching peace. Let's get this thing going. Let's get into war. Let's get this ship moving. So at his best, Judas was a zealot who just really misunderstood who Christ was. And at his worst, Judas is just a petty thief who's looking to make some money off of this opportunity. But regardless of whether whatever his motivation was, and we're not sure about what it was, but we know that Judas compromised his integrity. And so there's two words real quick as I wrap up this video that I want to point out that are in integrity, that can help us to better understand what it means for us and what we can do, all right? So the first word is in. And it's the shortest word in integrity. And the reason in is so important is because when we think about integrity, we need to look inside ourselves. We need to look at what's happening in our heart. We need to evaluate ourselves from a personal perspective. And integrity isn't the things that you accomplish when everybody's looking. Integrity means when nobody's looking, when you can easily get away with something wrong, do you do the right thing? So that's how we figure out whether we have integrity or not, is by looking inwards. And the second word is one of my favorites. It's grit. All right, and that's like an old Western, just love that, true grit. And so grit is the way that we grow our integrity. And with God's help, we just We got to apply that grit. We got to work for it. And it's not an easy thing to build our integrity, because there will be situations where we can easily benefit ourselves, where we can make money or gain favor. And, you know, the easy thing to do would be to get those things, and nobody would ever know. Nobody would ever know, just like that $40 I found. But doing the right thing is more important than doing the easy or the beneficial thing. And as followers of Christ, we're not called to live according to what our worldly standards would be, but we're called to live according to what Christ would have us do. So God bless you this Good Friday. We'll see you in a little bit.